I was standing at the kitchen sink, scraping the last bit of salad dressing into a plastic container. I wasn't really thinking about anything, just cleaning up. That's when Mom spoke. She sounded calm, like she was reading the weather report or something normal like that. "We're out of oat milk again," she said. "Can you pick some up on your way home from work?" I didn't look up. I just closed the lid on the container and asked, "Is the oat milk for you, or is it for Teresa and her hormones?" Mom didn't laugh. She never does when it comes to Teresa. "It's for her tea," she said as she folded the grocery list neatly, like it was something important, like a church program. "She needs to relax before her flight." I stopped what I was doing. "What flight?" "To West Bay," she answered, like it was common knowledge. "Didn't she tell you?" There was a short pause. Then she added, "It's for her women's retreat. Nicaragua. The cold air is supposed to help with stress and hormone levels or something." The water was still running. My hands were wet. I slowly turned around to face her. "She's going to Nicaragua?" Mom blinked, like I had asked something strange. "Just for a few days. It's a spa resort. Everything is natural and healthy. She's been very stressed lately, Jessica." I just stared at her. Nicaragua. A spa. All natural. Stressed. That's the word Mom used, stressed. Not lazy. Not out of work for over a year and a half. Not the reason I've been paying for the mortgage, the groceries, the phone, the lights, and now apparently the oat milk too. All for Teresa's relaxation in Nicaragua. "How is she paying for it?" I asked. "She won it," Mom answered quickly. "A raffle or something online." "Of course." I repeated her words slowly. "She won a retreat to Nicaragua in a raffle." "Yes," Mom said again. Then, after a short silence, she added, "Don't sound so doubtful, Jessica. She deserves something nice." I dried my hands slowly. The dish towel got stuck on my ring for a second. I looked at her and said, "When I got promoted to team lead last year, do you remember what you said? You said congratulations, and then asked if I could help with the water bill. That was all." Mom's face changed. She looked upset. "That's not fair," she said. "No," I replied. "It isn't." Just then, I heard the sound of keys in the hallway. Teresa walked into the kitchen like it was her own stage. She was smiling, full of energy, wearing a big winter coat, the kind made for snowy places. And that's when it really hit me. She was actually going to Nicaragua. I gave her that winter coat last Christmas. She said it was boring back then. But now, she looked amazing in it. She walked into the kitchen and opened the fridge like she owned the place. "Where's the oat milk?" she asked. I didn't say anything. Mom handed her a folded grocery list. "Jessica's picking some up." Teresa smiled and kissed Mom on the cheek. "Thanks, sis," she said without even looking at me. Then she walked out the door, light on her feet, like she had no care in the world. I just stood there and watched the door close behind her. The silence in the kitchen after she left felt heavier than before, like it had weight. "I thought she didn't have any money," I finally said. "She needed the trip," Mom replied right away. "You don't understand how hard it's been for her, staying home all day." I didn't argue. The sink was still running. I didn't turn it off. Deep down, I knew something wasn't right. Not just the trip. Not just the oat milk. Things had been feeling wrong for a long time. I just didn't want to admit it. Not yet. But that was about to change. The next day, I searched online. I typed in Nicaragua retreat raffle just to check if it was a real thing. It wasn't. I wasn't shocked. Something told me it was made up. Later that evening, during dinner, I asked Mom again. I made it sound casual. She was warming up a frozen meal, pretending it was homemade. She always did that when she wanted to act like everything at home was fine. "So, what kind of raffle did Teresa win?" I asked. Mom blinked. Then she stared at the microwave like it had said something strange. "Just a travel sweepstakes," she said. "You know how Teresa is with those online contests. She's always entering something." I took a bite of the meatloaf. It was dry. I chewed slowly and said, "That's funny. She usually brags about things like that." Mom looked at me quickly. "She probably didn't want to upset you. You've been working so hard lately." That was new, Mom worrying about how I felt. I'm not upset, I said. And I wasn't, not really. I was tired. Tired of always being the one to pick up the pieces. Tired of being the one who keeps everything going in the background, like a machine that no one notices unless it stops working. The next morning I was in a work meeting when I got a phone call. It was from the credit card company. And that's when everything really started to come apart. When I saw the number appear on my phone screen, I let it ring 4 times before picking up. Something inside me said I shouldn't wait. "This is Judy from Gold Line Credit," a woman said. Her voice was polite but serious. "We're calling to check on some recent activity on your account." I quietly stepped out of the room. "What kind of activity?" I asked. "There have been several large purchases made in West Bay, Nicaragua," she said. "Luxury hotel stays, spa treatments, shopping. We're just checking to confirm that you're traveling." I closed my eyes. "No," I said. "I'm not." There was a pause on her end. "Would you like to freeze the card?" she asked. "Yes," I said right away. In just 4 days, $38,000 had been charged to my credit card. I couldn't believe it. I looked through the email she sent with the list of charges. There were bills for a fancy hotel, a private tour, a hot spring spa, for different restaurants, and something called a glacier helicopter trip. I forwarded the email to myself and then printed it at home. I left the pages on the kitchen table, right where Mom always reads her newspaper. I didn't say a word that evening. When I came home from work, the house felt oddly quiet. Mom was folding laundry with extra care, like she wanted everything to look neat. Dad, who barely talked unless he was watching sports, cleared his throat. "She didn't mean anything by it," he said. I didn't respond. "The card was just sitting there," Mom added. "You always leave it out. It's not like she stole it." I picked up one of the printed pages and held it up. $38,000 in 4 days, I said. "She thought it was going to expire," Mom said quickly. "She didn't want it to go to waste." I stared at her. "She said that." Mom paused. "More or less." I didn't say anything else. I just picked up the pages and went upstairs. Later, I checked my voicemail. It was from Teresa. Her voice was cheerful. "Hey, sis," she said. "Looks like the card stopped working. Can you fix that? I still need to book the ice cave tour. Love you." She hung up without waiting for me to answer. I didn't tell Mom or Dad right away that I had frozen the card. They found out the next morning when Teresa called from her hotel. Mom was in the living room, pouring her 3rd cup of coffee. The mug she was using had the words "Grateful Heart" written on it. "She says her card isn't working," Mom said, holding the phone to her ear. I didn't reply. I just stood there, watching her, waiting for someone else in the house to finally say what I had known for a while. Something had gone too far. I didn't look up from my laptop. "No, the card isn't working," I said. Mom blinked. "You turned it off?" "I reported it stolen," I answered, staying calm. Dad spoke from his chair. "That seems a little extreme." "She took it without asking," I replied. "That's called stealing, last I checked." Mom's voice got tight. "You always go too far." Teresa called again. I saw her name on my phone, but didn't pick up. She left a voicemail. "Seriously, Cass? You canceled the card? I already booked stuff." "That's really immature. I was going to get you something." That last part made me laugh, and I didn't even know why. Maybe because she said it like it mattered. Like buying me a cheap gift from a tourist shop would somehow make up for using $38,000 without asking. Later that day, Mom knocked on my bedroom door. She hadn't done that in years. "We need to talk," she said. I closed the laptop. She walked in and sat down like she still had some kind of control in this house. "She's stuck now," Mom said. "She's in a 7-star hotel with no money. She can't even get food." "She ordered truffle risotto last night," I said. "It's on the bill." "She's your sister," Mom replied, as if that explained everything. I knew that line well. Family first. Older sister means backup plan. I sat up straighter. "Do you remember when I was in college?" I asked. "When I got a stomach ulcer from working 4 jobs at once?" Mom looked uneasy. "You're bringing that up now." "I called you crying," I said. "I needed help paying a hospital bill. It was $3,000. She said nothing. You told me Teresa needed braces more, I said. Mom pressed her hands together. That was a different time? It was always a different time, I said quietly. She looked older just then. Not just tired, but like someone who had been pretending for a long time and couldn't anymore. The lines around her eyes weren't just from age, they looked like they came from years of holding everything in. Then she did something I didn't expect. She reached across and placed her hand on mine. I know we didn't always treat you fairly, she said. But right now, she really needs you. I didn't move my hand away, but I didn't agree either. I thought about Teresa's voicemail. The tone in her voice. The way she said, fix it, like I was some kind of helper, not her sister. In that moment, I realized something. Teresa didn't think she had done anything wrong. And maybe, just maybe, Mom didn't either. I thought back to when I turned 17. On that birthday, they gave Teresa a car. I got a savings bond. They smiled like both gifts were equal, but even at 17, I knew they weren't. Then I remembered the time Teresa borrowed my rent money. She said it was to start a business. A week later, she went to a concert with her friends. I saw the photos online, and I thought about the house. The one we all lived in. The deed was sitting in a drawer upstairs. Dad signed it over to me 5 years ago when he couldn't afford the back taxes. The deal was simple. If I paid the debt, I owned the house. I did pay. Every month. On time. Quietly. I thought about all those things, and then I smiled. Okay, I said. Mom looked up. She looked surprised. Then a bit relieved. You'll help. I stood up and walked over to my dresser. I pulled open the top drawer and reached to the back. I took out a card. It was black, clean, and never used before. This one's still active, I said, handing it to her. Book whatever she needs. She took it like it was a gift. Like it made everything better again. I watched her leave the room holding that card like it was something precious. Then I picked up my phone and called someone I hadn't spoken to in a while. Hi, Grandma, I said. Are you still looking for help in the cafe kitchen? The next few days were quiet in a strange way. Teresa's calls slowed down. After the third voicemail, her tone had changed. She went from cheerful to annoyed, then to something else. Like she was trying to sound sorry without actually saying the word sorry. There were long sighs and pauses in her voice. She seemed to think that was enough. Mom also started acting different. She was softer, not giving orders so much. She offered me a cup of coffee when I got home. She asked how work was, but didn't wait for an answer. Still, it was a change. And me? I nodded. I smiled. I said yes when they asked for small things. I handed over a card. It wasn't the gold card. That one was frozen and gone. This was the black one. It had been sitting in my drawer for over a year. I got it after a client event but never used it. I activated it and set a spending limit. Then I gave it to them. She still has a few things to cover, I said calmly. Flights, meals, whatever. Mom looked like she had just received another chance. She didn't ask why this card was different. She didn't ask why I used it now after all this time. She didn't ask anything at all. And that's when I realized she still thought she was in charge. She still thought the game was the same. But I knew it wasn't. I was still playing my part. The next night, Teresa sent me a text message. Card's working. You're the best. I'm bringing back a surprise. I didn't reply. Instead, I packed 4 boxes. Just the important things: clothes, books, papers. The things that really mattered. Everything else could be replaced or left behind. Then I went online and booked a moving company for the following Tuesday. The next morning, I called a realtor. Her name was Judy. We had met once at a business event about 4 years ago. To my surprise, she remembered me. She asked how the house was doing. I told her I was ready to let it go. I didn't tell her the full story. She didn't need to know all the details. All she needed to hear was that the deed had my name on it, I was the only owner, and I planned to be out by Tuesday. She said she already had a buyer who had been waiting for a house on this street for months. We set up a time for the walkthrough. Later that day, I went into the garage and found the tax transfer papers Dad had signed years ago. I had kept them in an old folder labeled temporary. I never even bothered to change the name on the folder. Upstairs, I walked down the hallway and stopped at a framed photo from Christmas 8 years ago. We were all in it, kind of. I had been cropped at the edge. You could barely see my shoulder. That used to hurt. Now, it made sense. I had never really been in the picture. Just close enough to be useful. Close enough to fill the empty space. I didn't tell anyone I was moving.
Not yet.
I left the house key under a rock in the garden for the movers. I labeled the boxes clearly. Kitchen, documents, and one that said, "Don't lose." Then I got in my car and drove. I went to Grandma's. She opened the door like she had been waiting for me. She didn't ask why I was there. She didn't act surprised. She just gave me a little nod and a soft smile that didn't fully reach her eyes. "I have 3 rooms," she said, "and no time for drama." I smiled back. Perfect. Inside, the house smelled like flour, tomatoes, and old wood. The kitchen was noisy, full of clattering dishes, people giving orders in English, Spanish, and something in between. Her cafe was still the same. Her rules were still the same too. She looked at me seriously. "You ready?"
Not yet, I said.
"But I will be." She wiped her hands on a towel and looked me straight in the eyes.
"They'll come looking," she said.
And I nodded because I already knew. When they came back, I was ready. It was a Saturday afternoon. The sky was half cloudy, half blue. I heard the sound of suitcase wheels rolling over the walkway. It almost sounded like a warning. I wasn't inside the house. I was sitting outside on the porch swing waiting. Teresa got out of the car first. She was smiling like we were best friends or sisters who talked all the time. "You came to pick us up?" she asked.
I didn't say anything.
Dad carried the bags, and Mom walked up the steps. She reached into her purse and pulled out her keys. She tried to unlock the front door. It didn't work. She tried again. Still nothing. Then she looked at me, confused. "Did you change the door code?" "No," I said. "I changed the lock." She blinked.
"Why?"
"Because you don't live here anymore." She gave that dry, fake laugh she always used when she was nervous. "Jessica, come on." I stood up slowly and walked down the steps toward her. I handed her a large manila envelope. Inside were the signed papers from the house sale, proof of the wire transfer, and the official closing documents. Judy, the realtor, had moved quickly. The new buyers were moving in on Monday. "I sold it," I said. Teresa frowned. "Sold what?"
"The house."
Her smile disappeared like glass shattering on the ground. "You can't do that," she said loudly. "That's illegal. This is Dad's house." Dad opened the envelope. He didn't even finish reading the first page before his face went pale. He sat down on the curb like he couldn't catch his breath. "Jessica, you signed the deed over to me 6 years ago," I said. "Remember? When the IRS showed up?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't say anything else. Mom's voice got sharp. "You had no right." I looked at her, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel scared or small. "I paid the back taxes," I said. "I paid the mortgage, the bills. I fixed the roof, the plumbing, the broken heater. I kept this house standing for 6 years. You just lived in it." Teresa stepped closer. "So, where are we supposed to go?" I handed her another envelope. She opened it. Inside was a set of house keys, a handwritten note, and an address. The note was from Grandma. It said, "Room upstairs. Work starts at 6. Apron on by 4:37. Mom stared at the paper like she couldn't understand it. "You sent our stuff to your grandmother's house?" she asked. "No," I said. "I sent your things to your mother's house. She agreed to take you in, but only if you help out." Teresa scoffed. "You really think she can tell me what to do?" "What to do?" I said. "She's been telling you what to do since before you were born." That was when Dad finally spoke. "What about the card?" he asked. I turned to him. "Which one?" "The black one," he said. "The one we used." "Oh," I said. "That one wasn't mine." Teresa froze.
"What?"
"That card was yours." "No," I said, looking right at her. "It was yours. You opened it 3 years ago, remember? Right after you quit that copywriting job." You left the card in a drawer. I never used it, she said quickly. You did now, I said calmly. She looked down at the paper in her hand, then back at me. You're lying. I didn't say anything. Just then, the moving truck pulled into the driveway. The new owners stepped out of their car. They looked happy, a couple holding a baby, with a little dog bouncing around them. I turned back to my family. You have 4 days to move out. Grandma's guest rooms are ready. Mom opened her mouth like she was going to say something, but then closed it again. I didn't wait around to hear what came next. I walked to my car, started the engine, and drove away. No long speech. No big goodbye. The house was already gone. And now, so was I. After that, everything went quiet. No calls, no voicemails, no surprise visits at night. Just peace. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of town. It wasn't fancy. Just 3 rooms, soft lighting, and no shared walls. But it was mine. And it was quiet, the kind of quiet you forget you miss until it's yours to keep. Work got better. I didn't feel the need to check my bank account 3 times a day. I didn't jump when my phone rang. I even bought flowers for my kitchen table, not because it was anyone's birthday, just because I liked how they looked. One morning, Grandma called. She doesn't waste time with small talk. They're adjusting, she said. I didn't ask who. I already knew. Your mom is washing dishes slower than I like, but she's doing it. Your dad learned how to fold napkins badly. And your sister? She finally figured out how to clock in on time. I didn't say anything. Grandma let out a small sigh. They're not perfect, but they're changing. Some things you only learn through hard work. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I felt guilty. Just because I felt something else, something I hadn't noticed I was carrying. A kind of waiting that had been sitting deep inside me for a long time. The next week, I stopped by Grandma's cafe. I didn't go to talk. I just wanted to see. The back door was open. The smells of garlic, oil, and baking bread floated out and wrapped around me like a warm coat. I hadn't worn those shoes in years. But that day, I found myself standing outside Grandma's cafe again. I looked through the kitchen window. Inside, I saw them. Teresa was wiping down the counter. Her hair was tied back, and her sleeves were rolled up. Dad was folding paper menus into neat little piles. Mom had her hands in soapy water, her mouth pressed into a tight line. None of them looked up. No one noticed me standing there. I didn't go inside. I just stood there watching, not angry, not sad, not even feeling sorry for them. I felt clear. They looked like people who were finally learning to carry their share of the weight. For once, no one was reaching into my life, asking me to save them. No one was expecting me to fix everything. I turned and walked back to my car. Later that week, I got a letter. It was handwritten, and the envelope had my name written in neat, careful cursive. I hadn't seen handwriting like that since I was a kid. It was from Mom. Inside, there was only one sentence. You were right. I just didn't want you to be. No apology. No excuses. But it was enough. I folded the letter and placed it in an old shoebox. Inside the box were a few other things I hadn't thrown out yet, an old photo, a birthday card from Grandma, and the receipt for the back taxes. I paid the year they almost lost the house. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just closed the lid and placed the box back on the shelf. The months passed. The seasons changed. I didn't hear much from them, but every once in a while I got updates from Grandma or someone at church. Teresa had picked up a second job. Dad finally fixed the leaking pipes at the cafe. Mom had started baking again, something she hadn't done in years. I didn't feel anything big about it, just something small, like the ground under me had finally stopped shaking. One Thursday afternoon, I walked past our old house. It had new paint on the outside. There were fresh flowers in the garden. A tricycle sat in the driveway, bright red and well-used. I didn't stop. I didn't even slow down. Because this wasn't a story about going back to what I used to have. It wasn't about getting even or hearing, I'm sorry, 100 different ways. It was about leaving before I lost myself completely. It was about walking away while I still could and making sure no one ever made me feel invisible again.